Okay, so video for Illustrator makes it look like it's pretty easy, and it is easy in Illustrator. However, in Photoshop, this is a little bit of a challenge, and it takes a lot longer, but it can definitely be done. And personally, I think it's more sort of true to the way paint gets mixed. So I don't know. I like doing it in Photoshop as well. So first thing you're going to do is, if you're in RGB, click on this menu right here, drag down HSB. Okay, so HSB is a good way to use color in this class. In fact, everything we do in this class will be HSB. So make sure that it's always there. First thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to grab a random color. Actually, I liked 259 a little better. Make sure S and B are at 100 so that it is fully saturated. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to start with tints, and we know that tints are going to fade to white. So just because it's close, and it's close enough, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I'm going to do subtract 10 each time. And then so type in your number, hit return. You don't even need to get off the bucket tool, which is over here. 70 return. 60, right, and you can see, you can see that it is very quickly fading to white, but also very evenly fading to white. And by very definition, a tint is a hue with white mixed into it. So this gives us an even sort of incremental scale of this purple color fading to white. So reset the scale, start over with this color here, and you do the same thing, 90, 80, 70, all the way down through here to get to black. I'm going to pause it and do that for a second. Okay, so I'm back. I've got that finished now. A couple things that you'll notice is that I don't, on either of these, end on pure white or pure black. In Illustrator, I do just because the blend tool takes care of all the numbers, but in this case, it's easier just to do it by subtracting 10, and you end up with almost black and almost white here. I think it also looks a little better. A couple other things. In my paint bucket tool while I was gone, I also turned the anti-alias feature off, which you need to make sure that's off on these because it'll give you some fuzzy edges if you're working with the anti-alias feature. And then the opacity, make sure that's at 100. Sometimes it isn't, and that gives people a lot of trouble. So next step is to come in here, and more or less you're going to be grabbing this first scale, and you can just copy and paste it if you want. There's nothing wrong with that, because what this is the foundation for all three of these. Oops. Because when you have something fading to gray, you have it. And then also real quick, I'll mention here, I've now got a lot of layers. I'm going to go to layer. It's way down at the bottom. Flatten image. There we go. Okay, so what's going on here is you've got all these colors here, and you want them to end on gray. So gray is going to have a saturation of 0 or very close to 0. And if you look here, if you look at the color right here, as I move that, that's a good gray, right? So we want a gray that is lighter than our starting color. So I'm just going to move it down. Let's try. Let's try 80. That can be our final color here. Let's try 20. And let's just try 10. Now let's try 20, make it a little more clear. And then now this one is going to be tough because we have to figure out where the neutral, or where the neutral that matches in value is. So what I'm going to do is go up to image mode, image menu mode, and then grayscale. I'm going to check out our first color. You'll see it's 77 is the value. Now it's a little trick that I've found, but if you take 77 and you subtract 100 minus 77, gives you like 23. Let's start there and see what that looks like. Image mode grayscale, 85, 77. So we're off just a little bit. Okay, so we're off just a little bit. By what is that? 8%. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to lighten it up 8%. Let's just try 30. Let's see what that does. And again, image mode, grayscale. 80, 77, still too dark. So let's go 34. That should get us pretty close. 74, 77. Really? Now I'm too light. Okay, let me see. And I'm trying to get it as perfect as possible just for demonstration's sake, but okay, that's a point. Okay, that's good. So then what we need to do now is we need to start fading these new colors. So we know that over the course of 10 squares we need to get this to 80. So that's 100 minus 20, so we can do 2 each time. This one we need to do 8 each time. And then this one it looks like we need to do like 7. So I'm going to try that. And then I will come back in a minute after I do that. I just don't want you to have to watch me sit and go through all that. So hang on just a minute. Okay, so now I'm back with these. So if you look at the sliders up here, I'll just move them down so they're a little closer. You can see that I dropped the first one by 10 and the second one by 2, 2, and then here 2. Okay, now this one I jumped by 3, 3, 2, 2, 2. Now I switched them just a little more in the middle to keep it ending on this color, but as long as it's 2 or 3, it should be pretty close, I think. You could try, now here's the tricky part, and this was with all of these. If you try to hue like green, it's not going to be 2. Like it's going to be different for each. It's going to be different for each hue. 259, this works. So when you're doing yours, you'll want to try a different color, and you'll have to sort of pay attention to how the color is shifting because this is a dark color. It responds very differently than when it's a light color. Like if you did like a lime green or a yellow or something like that, this end color here could actually be at 90 and still match your value. So anyway, okay, so see what's happening with the sliders there. Now here the sliders are moving faster. I think I'm moving 9 each time. Yeah. So 10 for the first one, 9 for the second one. So S sliders moving 10, B sliders moving 9. And then here it's like 8. And I found that if I moved it about 8, it stayed pretty close. So then what I need to do now is check it in grayscale again. Look here, I can see 33, 77, so it definitely gets lighter. 77 to 87, so it does get darker. And here, 77 to 76, wiggles a few points. I would go back in and adjust a few of those, I think, but pretty close. Now, a couple of things that I'm looking at before I would call this completely finished is I see, maybe some of these things aren't lining up. See how the gaps aren't all quite the same. Some of that's the template, some of it's because I use the anti-alias on the first few. But if you're seeing any sort of inconsistencies or irregularities in your scales, then you'll just want to go back in, probably with the new fresh template, and just reapply all the colors so you get a really clean, sharp presentation on it. So, yeah, that's how we do these in Photoshop. A lot more time consuming than Illustrator, but I think it also gives you a really good sense of how the S and B sliders can be used to control value, which ultimately is very, very important. So if you do have any other questions, please let me know.